if they misbehave, if they do something bad. But right now, we'll see. But it's a possibility that could happen, certainly.
So that's President Trump there. And a recent Truth Social post, that is, he said that he can't imagine a deal that would be acceptable, saying that Iran has not paid a big enough price for what they did to humanity over the last 47 years. Let's bring in Turning Point USA contributor and former Navy intelligence officer Jack Posobiec, along with former senior advisor at the Department of Veteran Affairs Darren Selnick, and the National Security Counterintelligence Advisor, as well as author of The Red Tsunami. Great to have you all here. We are learning about these two service members missing right now in Morocco. This is happening right now after they were taking part in this it was an annual multinational military exercise there. That's according to AFRICOM. So, Darren, given all of this training that we've known, how is it that this is happening? What kind of incident reveals this about these joint exercises? How dangerous is this?
Hey, John, thanks for having me on. In the military, everything's great until it happens. So you've got the training to take care of this stuff. You've got the training to know what to do. We have the best, well-trained men and women in the military. So things happen, training accidents happen, operations happen. So they're trained to deal with this, and in the end, they'll use their training to have a successful outcome.
Jack, I want to get to this. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. They've set this deadline here for the U.S. military to end its blockade ports. Now, President Trump, he says he has to choose now between this impossible military operation or a very bad deal. Do you think President Trump is ever going to take a bad deal here?
No, I don't think President Trump is going to choose a bad deal because the blockade is working. The blockade is brilliant, and President Trump is using that strategic brilliance and the power of the United States Navy to put an economic constriction on Iran's oil, which, by the way, is oil that was all flowing to Beijing. Where's President Trump going? In just under 2 weeks, he's going to Beijing to sit down with Xi Jinping. This is all about putting Xi Jinping in a corner. It's about putting the CCP and constricting on the dragon and this oil artery of the Strait of Hormuz, as well as the oil that they were getting out of Venezuela in the past. This is President Trump's grand strategy for a grand deal.
That's a very good point. Putting the pressure, Jack, on China. The longer this drags out, do you think, Jack, that is now putting Xi in a tough spot?
Well, I think it is, because eventually China needs that to fuel their military. They need to fuel their rise. They need it to fuel their economy. And if their economy slows down, then you're talking about 1%, 2% uptick in unemployment. That's going to mean millions and millions of Chinese out of work that could potentially flood into the streets and create a problem for the CCP regime.
Casey, let's shift to this. The U.S. is now fast-tracking this $8 billion in arms sales to the Middle East allies. And this is happening while Tehran is set to pass this law restricting traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. Is this the signal for the start of maybe phase 2 of this war with Iran?
Very well could be. At least it's positioning. It's opportune time for both sides to resupply. We know that Iran is doing it with China and Russia, and we should be doing the same. And that's what we're doing with the $8 billion rearming of Israel.
Darren, let's get to this. Trump also announced the withdrawal of the close to 5,000 troops from Germany over the next the next 6 to 12 months, I should say. Do you believe that is the right move? Clearly, he's not happy with some of these allies that have not joined in with Iran. But do you think that pulling troops out of there is the right move?
Absolutely. The NATO allies have been kind of like a bad landlord. You can't be telling us how and when, what operations we can do. You don't have to join in, but you can't tell us what we can do and when we can fly over. So I got to be thinking, if you're going to pull out of Germany, maybe you should be putting stuff into Poland. Who are the NATO allies that we can actually rely on? And maybe more forward Eastern European allies would be better. So yes, it's the same thing. It's the 5,000 troops are only the 5,000 troops that were only recently added under the Biden because of the Ukraine. So absolutely right thing. You need to send a message to our NATO partners that they need to be real partners and not pick and choose when they want to be partners. Jack,
this is very well documented pattern here in American history. Nearly every president since 1973 has sidestepped or openly challenged the war powers resolution in some way. 3 examples of this. You've got G.W. Bush used post 9/11 congressional authorization here to sidestep the war powers resolution entirely. Then you had Obama that bombed Libya past 60 days, arguing that it wasn't hostilities. His own Justice Department disagreed. And in his first term, Congress invoked the resolution over Yemen and Iran. Now, Trump, he vetoed both, but Democrats, they are still taking the administration to task on this. We had this hearing here with Secretary of War Hegseth. Watch this.
We are in a ceasefire right now, which our understanding means the 60-day clock pauses or stops in a ceasefire. They're not in. Yeah. It's our understanding, just so you know.
Okay, well, I do not believe the statute would support that. I think the 60 days runs maybe tomorrow, and that's going to pose a really important legal question for the administration.
So that Democrats keep pushing against this. But the real question isn't whether Trump is breaking the law. It's whether Congress has the political will to use that one tool that would work. So, Jack, cutting off the funding, and historically they never do you believe that the president is in the right now with what he's doing?
Look, this has been precedent for a long time, and if Congress wanted to exert itself, they would have done so decades ago. The fact they're just playing politics at this point, that's clearly what's going on. And if they're just upset, really what's going on is the Democrats are just upset that they can't find a federal judge to block it, though I'm sure they're going to try to, because that's how they blocked all the president's domestic policies. So they're trying to do the exact same thing on foreign policy. Look, if this was Joe Biden and you saw the support for Ukraine, you saw the support for other military operations, this would not be a problem with them whatsoever. They're just playing politics here, and they're doing so because it's a Republican president. If it was Obama, if it was Kamala Harris doing the same thing, they would have no problem whatsoever.
Casey, last question to you. Just with Iran dragging this out, do you believe that they really do want to make a deal, or do you think that they're waiting until they can prolong this as long as possible to allow for potentially the midterms or potentially President Trump out of office? How long do you think that they'll do this? Plus, they've cut off the internet to their own country, so we don't really know what's going on there. Their own country doesn't know what's going on there. Do you believe that they're even considering making a deal, or is this just the delay tactic so that they can wait till a different president takes over?
It's a delay tactic. They still want to maintain ownership of Hormuz. They still want to maintain power in the country without a regime change. And most importantly, they want to keep their uranium and their nuclear capabilities on the table. So those are all showstoppers for the United States. And even the rhetoric that's coming out recently, last night, they're even talking about just amping up hostilities of shooting warships and sinking our warships in the region. So it's a stall tactic. The elephant in the room is the Chinese Communist Party, who is a strategic partner of Iran. And this is a proxy war with the Chinese Communist Party and Russia. And that is the elephant in the room that people need to understand.
Yeah, and if that Strait of Hormuz stays closed, I mean, that definitely will put some more of a pressure there on China. Jack Posobiec, Darren Snell, thank you so much. Casey Fleming, always a pleasure to have you all on. I appreciate it.